Welcome, everybody. I'm Scott Paton of free-ebooks.net, coming to you from Cartagena, Colombia, on the Caribbean coast of Colombia. And we have a very, very special guest. But before I bring him on, what I want to do is just talk a little bit about, well, there he is. So forget about waiting. Hey, Gordon, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Scott. Thank you.
Sometimes the subconscious mind trumps the conscious mind. Clicked the wrong button, brought you on. So we're just going to get right into it. One of the missions of freebooks.net is to expose up-and-coming authors to audiences that are interested in their topic. And so one of the things that we love to do is bring authors on. We love to bring people on who help authors. And in this particular case, Gordon, you are both. And one of the reasons that we wanted you to come on is you've got a new book coming out, Landed for Success. And it's one way for people who want to be authors to quickly and easily become an author. So you and I have known each other for a long time. For those of you that have never had the honor of meeting Gordon before, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's sharp as a tack. And I like to think of him as the iron fist in the velvet glove. He's just the sweetest guy, but then he just comes up with all these ideas, and you can't resist. That's what I mean about the iron fist. You can never say no to you, Gordon. It's just not possible. So, of course, I don't want to say no to you. I was happy when you were telling me about Landed for Success, and we're able to come on the show. That's why we're having it at a special time this week. So with that, Gordon, tell us a little bit about Landed for Success.
Awesome. Landed for Success. Scott, before I jump right into Landed for Success, I number one, thank you so much for taking the time. One of the things I do want to share, Scott, is I subscribed to free-ebook.net years and years ago, and I do love it because it's a great opportunity for individuals, little guy like me, to be able to publish a book very quickly, right? And get exposure on freebooks.net, as well as if I'm an avid reader and I want to read, there's so many different categories, right? Whether it's sci-fi or fiction or nonfiction or business books. So I do appreciate freebooks.net, and obviously yourself, Scott. I want to say thank you. And if someone's watching, I'm a podcaster, and I would say hundreds of my clients, directly and indirectly, are podcasters because of Scott. I have over 120,000 international students online, and my clients have tens of thousands. I got to tell you, it's because of Scott. And he has been a huge influence. He's very humble as well about his success. My podcasting, my clients' podcasting, my online students, it's because of Scott. And I hate to resist this, right? It says, "Beam me up, Scotty." Like, if you guys want success in your business when it comes to books and authorships and so on as well, please reach out to Scott. So I did want to start with that, if that's okay, Scott, because I appreciate you as well. Landed for Success is it's a co-author book series. And it's just an accumulation of 18 authors from all different walks of life. And the theme behind it, Scott, is initially anyways, it was stories of individuals who have overcome maybe obstacles and challenges, but the theme was immigrants, right? So my parents immigrated here from Hong Kong. And my business partner, Jay, he's from Sri Lanka. So we both have a little bit of a different experience, where I came when I was like maybe around 9 or 10, but Jay came here when he was a teenager. So if anybody has teenagers, you can imagine that the peer pressure you face as a teenager. So not knowing the language, new country, some of the bullying and the words that we experience, people calling us, I can't even repeat on here today. But we've seen stories of immigrants over and over again, and maybe you have as well, right? Have you ever sat like at maybe the kitchen table? And, like my dad, for example, every time I complained about money in the past, he would say, "Son, you should see when I came to the country, I had like 50 cents and an apple in my pocket." Can anyone relate to that? right? And we hear all kinds of success stories from our aunts or uncles or friends, and what Uncle Luigi did, and the things that they did to get to the successes they have today, right? The challenges, the struggle, how they survive and thrive. That's kind of, Scott, how Landed for Success first got started. Sorry, Scott, your sound.
Trying to keep it quiet for you. You're absolutely right, Gordon. I know a lot of people who have come to Canada, because that's where I'm from, and
Yes.
really started with nothing. And then one family actually she had a son who was chairman of BC Hydro and started the big hydro project up in northern British Columbia. And her other son was the top anesthesiologist at Vancouver General Hospital, one of Canada's top hospitals. And then another one was a professor at a university in Southern California. And then another one was, started her own business. But she did a lot of things, but the biggest thing, in my opinion, was she started a social enterprise in Belize, helping Indian farmers that were taken from India they're descendants of people that were taken from India 200 years ago and put in Belize and forced to work on planet. I don't know what they were forced to do, but eventually they were given plots of land, told to be farmers, and she was able to take something that they just took for granted and turn it into a really cool health product that she sells in Canada and the United States now. So there's so much opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, and opportunities are everywhere if we look, right, Scott? But when we're challenged, when we have times when we're challenged, sometimes we feel like there aren't any opportunities, right? So here, one of the individuals in the book, Scott, wrote the foreword in our book, and he talked, without giving away his story, his parents immigrated from Korea.
Wow.
When he was 100 days old. And fast forward to today, he started over 22 businesses now that have become multi-million-dollar businesses. And he's also the producer for Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, the movie, and wrote a new book called How Rich Asians Think and Grow Rich, in the Napoleon Hill Foundation book, which is, and so it was great to have him not just write the foreword, but also kind of share his story of the struggles of being an immigrant kid, and very humble with the success that he has. So that's what I love about the Landed for Success book series. We have individuals from every walk of life that have a story that I think can inspire, motivate. And that's one thing you taught me, Scott, when I first started to do a podcast. Remember how it took me so long? Like I stop, because I'm afraid, like, would anyone even like my story?
Right.
Right.
Everybody loves your story.
Thank you, Scott. Well, I have a story for you this morning. We have a full day because tomorrow's our official launch, and we're doing interviews all day. And you were kind enough to do an interview. So this morning, my wife said, "Go for a run so you have the energy for the day." So I ran for a little run around on Lake Ontario, thinking, "Oh my goodness, what a nice run with Lake Ontario." And then now you just showed me, like, what's behind you, Scott?
It's a huge beach in Cartagena. I don't know if I'm able to actually. There you go.
Wow. Like it made me feel like, oh my goodness, like I can trade little Lake Ontario right now for where you are.
But that's an interesting discussion that you just brought up, and that is comparisons, because it does. I'm thinking, wow, you went for a walk around Lake Ontario. That must have been spectacular. And oftentimes we discount what we do and where we're at, and we always look at. It kind of reminds me of the grass being greener on the other side of the fence, and that always reminds me of where two fences crossed, and there was four paddies together, and there's four cows, and each cow has stuck their head through the fence and is eating the grass on the other side. Thinking, so each one thinks the grass is greener on the other side, and so they're eating the grass that is rejected by the cow that was there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's so true.
So true. Great story. And going back to Land for Success, that's really kind of what it's like, right? Like Napoleon says, start with what you have, start where you are, start with what you have, and then better tools are going to show up. And
Yes.
so some of the authors, like when they first started, I hope, because if it's okay with you, Scott, I'll share my story.
Yes, tell us your story.
I help hundreds of individuals now become published authors, but I've never ever shared my story. Is that incredible?
Yep.
So people would always say to me, Gordon, are you going to be in the book? And I'm like, no. Well, it's almost like someone selling a Mercedes, they sell Mercedes Benzes, but they drive a BMW, right? So finally,
or a 1970 Toyota Corolla.
Yeah. Yeah. So when this series, came about, Land for Success, that, man, I got to share my story in here. But, I procrastinated for months before I finally sat down and started writing, because I never thought that my story was important. And I don't know how many times I wrote it and scrapped it and wrote it and scrapped it. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, right? Thinking, yeah, my story's not important, and people are going to laugh at me. And it's amazing, Scott, that the book is now on Amazon, is available for purchase. Although, like, tomorrow is when we would like the majority of folks to support us, if they can, go there, get a copy for free if they have Kindle Unlimited, or they can buy a copy for, I think it's $3 or something like that. But we had some folks already, Scott, that wanted to get an early copy so they can give us a review. And when the first person said to me, Gordon, I love your story. And it took me a second to let it sink in, like, wow, somebody actually said they liked my story. Right. And these individuals, and I don't want to go into the story, because in my story, I talk a little bit about how I faced bullying. Because people say me now, like, man, you're like what you said earlier, Scott, and it's kind of funny, right? Some people say that it's not the size of the dog in the fight.
Yeah.
Fight of the size of the. Did I say that right? It's not the size of the.
It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Dog, right? So I have one time where I had a client from Florida, and she had done over $2.5 billion in sales and infomercials. And I got her an interview at Breakfast Television. I had never met her before. We show up. And I was saying that, hey, nice to meet you. I don't want to say her name, right? And she didn't know who I was. She's looking around like, it took her a second to sink in, because at first she thought like I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, right? And I'm not. I'm this little guy, but it's confidence, right? And how do you develop? It took a long time to develop confidence. And one of our hopes in the book is some of the stories, like my story and other stories, can actually help other individuals develop confidence, self-confidence, self-esteem, and so on.
Right. That's awesome, because really it's the confidence. You actually remind me of the first time I did serious public speaking. Previously I'd been president of a Rotary Club, so I talked in front of 50 odd people, but to actually stand in front of like 200, 300, 400 people and talk, I'd never done that. Wow. And I had skills in the early 2000s of being able to turn on my computer and use Word and Excel. And so this company hired me and sent me across the country, and they had no choice because they only had one instructor. They had 800 students, and there was only room for 400 in the room. So they had to have 2 rooms.
Wow.
And it was Edmonton. And basically it was, and I had no modeling, because there was no training for this technical type course. They'd always done soft skills. And so I was in a hotel in Edmonton. The other instructor was in another hotel in Edmonton.
Wow.
And then we were both in the same hotel where there was only 400 people in Calgary. So they said, you can just like be his assistant or whatever, right? And so that was the first time I actually met that gentleman. And then there was 2 rooms in Vancouver. So basically it was like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So Monday, I've gone through the whole curriculum in the first 4 hours. We break for lunch, I'm done. And it was awful. It was terrible. I had this very short black night of the soul because I only had an hour. And it was a beautiful sunny November day in Edmonton, which I'll never forget. And I sat on this square and I thought, I don't even want to go back. My poor students, they probably don't want to go back.
Wow.
So I went back. And of course, that was the first thing, is I didn't give up. And I said to them all, I'm sorry. And the first rule is, don't tell them it's your first time. And I told everybody this is my first time. And the second rule is, don't tell them to get a refund. And I told everybody, this morning was awful and I'm really sorry. And I want to start over if it's okay with you. And but if you don't feel like you got value, then go get a refund. So I made 2 records that day. One was for the most refunds in one day, and the other was for the poorest reviews in one day. However, in the second half of the day, people were going to the admin person and asking for another evaluation sheet. And the admin person said, why do you want another one? He says, well, I don't know what happened over lunch, but he's a lot different now than he was this morning. And so then the next day, I'm sitting in the audience watching this fellow teach the same course I taught on Monday. And I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, I know everything he knows. There's nothing he said that I don't know. So it's not knowledge. The difference between him and me is he's standing up there acting confident.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, I can do that. So the next 2 days later, we're in Vancouver. I got 350 people in my room. He's got 300, 400 people in his room. And he takes a break when he knows I'm not taking a break. And he comes into my room to see how I'm doing, right? And he says, Scott, he said, you just did a great job. I was there for 15. I didn't know he was in the room. He says, right. But you were connecting with the audience. You were doing this, you were doing that. And these were all things I picked up from modeling him, right? Because I saw, he was talking to those people and this people. And I figured it was figuring everything out. So that was a very short career with that company, because I think I did one other series of courses, and then it was just like, my life was a bit of a mess anyway, so I don't blame them. But I always remember like how important modeling is. And so I really recommend, if you want to do some books, if you want to be part of a this is a book with multiple authors, right?
Yes. Yeah, this one is 18 authors, Scott. 18
authors. So this is a great opportunity for anyone who wants to be an author, because you get the opportunity to see how Gordon and his team and the other authors operate, and you can model it. Like, it's really, really difficult to start doing something from scratch with no real understanding. And I'd gone through 3 intensive days of learning in terms of how we were supposed to use their systems and how we were supposed to present and all this stuff. And it was all modeling, because in that 3 days, on Friday we introduced ourselves, and then we had a day of classes, and then Saturday night we redid our introductions. And there's like we're broken into groups of like 7 or 8 people, right? And there's this old grumpy guy. He's like this. He says, I've been teaching and I've been talking in front of thousands of people for 30 years. And this is when he's evaluating me the second time, right?
Right.
And he says, Scott, he says, I have never seen someone improve so much from Friday to Saturday. Because Friday I had no clue. Like, I think I was the only person who had no experience. Right. One day. But I had no experience. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And then once I saw, it was like, oh, yeah, well, I can do that. And then I did it. And so when you join a group like Gordon's and you do, you're part of Landed for Success 2, you're going to learn a lot more than just, you're going to have a lot more benefits than just the putting out a book and being able to say, I'm an author. You're going to have all the back end stuff that they're doing, all the modeling that they're going to be sharing with you. It's really going to be an amazing experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Scott, because modeling, as you said, is so important. Because Tony Robbins does success leaves clues, right? And so we don't have someone showing us what to do is hard. There's a poem about habits, and one of the things, I won't go in the whole poem, but it talks about, I'm easily managed. Show me exactly how you want something done. A couple of times, show me exactly how you want something done. And then after a few times, I'll be able to do it automatically, right? And I think that's the challenges that we have is sometimes we could say to people, here, go and do it, right? And that's what I love about Scott. You have helped like so many of my clients. Like one of my clients, when she was on stage in California one time, they introduced her not only as a happiness and resiliency coach, a best-selling author, and they said, and she's got 28,955 international students in over like 121 countries. Help me to welcome to the stage, boom. And everybody stood up and gave her a big hand, right? And I remember the first time when you were producing a video, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And then you walked her, you showed her, you went through with her first what she needed to do, and then you showed her what to do. And then she just took off from there. So with our book, Scott, for anybody who's thinking, okay, I got a story to share, but I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to write a complete book yet, right? And I don't know how to do it. This is how simple it is. So it's only 1,000 words in the chapter. So once they have an interview with one of our author leads, like Kelly Cheliton, and we establish that, hey, it's the right fit, all they have to do, ready for this, is write a rough draft. That's it.
Right.
Rough draft. They send it into our editor, Lindsay Fisher, which you've met, right?
Yeah.
And Lindsay now works her magic, takes your story, sends it back to you, and then you have a couple of edits and you're done. Literally within like, if you already have an idea, you do the rough draft. Literally within 10 to 15 days, your story is done, professionally done. And if you go to Landed for Success that Scott just showed, you can actually read a couple of the chapters for free. Like read a couple of the sample chapters first. And if you want to support the authors and download a copy and buy a copy, please do that. We really appreciate you helping them, hit that bestseller author status. So Scott, they can actually go download and read. Right there. Yeah.
There it is.
What a powerful story, right? Scott, here's a young man who was an immigrant, and now he's got 20 some odd businesses that are multi-million-dollar business. This year alone, during the pandemic, he helped a young lady who has never started a business before, but her passion was bath bombs. Can you imagine bath bombs, right?
No.
Right? And John said, well, what are they? She said, well, I love taking baths, and I love bath bombs in the shape of a skull. Apparently there's there's a segment of the population that loves that. And so he coached her, helped her start a business, helped her get manufactured and all that stuff, and all the back. Like you, Scott, you do everything for the right fit, the individuals to help them with their courses.
Yes.
They launched that product during COVID or the pandemic. Well, they sold, ready for this, over $2 million in bath bomb during the pandemic last year. Is that amazing?
Wow.
So the power of a book is you get to meet other people. You
definitely get inspired, because that's a very inspiring story.
Yeah, and some of them become friends. Some of them become business partners. So if someone's looking for a master alliance, wow, one of the best way I believe to find that is by being part of a community of collaborative authors.
Right. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you, Gordon. I know you're getting ready for the launch tomorrow. If you're watching this and it's weeks or months or years later, please still go and support the book. And I'm sure there'll be more and more volumes that you'll be able to get inspiring stories from. And Gordon, before we go, any last words of wisdom, tips for brand new or authors that maybe have written some books and haven't had the success that they want?
Get interviewed by Scott on freebooks.net. I don't know if there's any secret to success other than just do it. Like if you have a dream and you have a passion, figure out exactly what you want to do. And the example that Scott gave earlier, modeling, right? Remember he said day one, he didn't know how to present, but he saw someone present and said, okay, what that person is doing, I can do it as well. So if you've written a book and there's something you want from that book, right? Like maybe you want the book to lead you to become a speaker, that book leading you to higher paying clients, whatever it is that you want. Find someone who's actually been doing it, right? Find out what they do and just do it 10 times more than what they're doing. And you'll probably have 10 times the success that they have.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us, Gordon. Appreciate you, and appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. And everybody else, I appreciate you too. And I look forward to seeing you on our next show. And make sure you head over
to the beach in Colombia.
Yeah, or come to a beach in Colombia, and you can be on the show live with me on the beach. That would be pretty awesome. Now you made me forget what I was going to say. Oh yeah, go over to free-ebooks.net. We've got tens of thousands of books for you. If you're an author, we put the books out there on our site for free, and we get over 200,000 people coming to the site every week. So there's tons and tons of opportunity for you to get in front of the ideal readers, create your community. You'll be able to see how many downloads you get. You can take that to a publisher and say, look, we've got 10,000, 20,000 people who have read my book. I'm obviously popular, and maybe at that point they're going to take you on, because right now we know that most publishers, they want established, guaranteed home runs. They just can't afford to put a book up, to take a chance on a book by someone that they don't know and they're not sure what's going on. So that's our goal, is to help you become successful as an author, and to give all of our members amazing books to read. So we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.